Hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live podcast today. Today, we are discussing on the topic of startup do six things or die. We have the honor of having Sunil, Rajiv, and Thomas being part of the speakers forum today, bringing the speakers onto the dais. Hi, Rajiv. Hi, Thomas. Hi,
Hi,
Sunil.
Prem.
Hello, Prem.
Hello, Prem.
Podcast, sir. Over to you, Thomas.
Okay, that's great. Thank you, Prem. Thank you for our introduction. And from me, welcome to our LinkedIn Live podcast for this week, which, as Prem said, is startup. Are you a startup? Do these six things or die? And today, we're showing you how to put your startup into permanent regenesis mode. And we think that this is really important because unless you're in a permanent state of renewal, a continuous state of renewal, then you will miss some of the important development steps that you need to be successful as a startup. And for us, there are six core mission critical actions that startups and their managers, executives, and investors must focus on to really ensure success. So let's dive by diving into what those six core critical actions are. Number one, validate the market need. Number two, build a strong team. Number three, develop a minimum viable product. Number four, create a sustainable business model. Number five, raise capital strategically. And number six, focus on customer acquisition and retention. And as Prem said, I'm joined today by my good friends and colleagues, Rajiv and Sunil, who will help us explore the regenesis approach to these topics in depth. We aim to provide you with actionable insights and practical advice that you can implement right away. So let's get started. Topic number one is a commonly missed step or a commonly underdone step, which is to validate the market need. And to kick things off, let's talk about this and how this is a crucial regenesis step for any startup. Rajiv, what are some of the key strategies for ensuring there's a real problem your startup is solving?
Yeah, thank you very much, Thomas. This topic is very close to my heart because I have been dabbling with startups and mentoring them from the last almost 4.5 years. And the most important thing which I have felt is that there has to be a problem solution fit because it should start by clearly defining the problem your product or services addresses and ensure that it is a significant issue for your target audience, and also there is a real problem your startup is solving, because that is the main aspect which everybody is looking at. Because if you are actually solving a big issue or a big problem, then automatically you will start getting the recognition from people who are evaluating your startup, people who are interacting with you, people who are looking at you for funding purposes, or anybody who's trying to attach with you, because for a startup it is very important to attract people to follow them, or to actually utilize their services or utilize whatever product they have. So for that, if you are really solving a good problem and you are giving a perfect solution to that, then of course nothing can stop you. Your innovation will be welcomed by everyone. And also the next step is the customer discovery, where you need to engage directly with your potential customers through interviews or surveys to understand their pain points, because at the end of the day you are going to sell to them. So if you understand their pain points very clearly and you address those pain points in your strategy, that can really bring immediate success to you. So you don't have to look for anybody to give you others kind of a support, or you don't need influencers If you are really solving a good problem and giving a solution, and you know what your customer is looking for, that's the sure way to succeed. And of course, you need to do your market research, and you need to analyze the market size, the trends, and the competitors who are there, and you need to validate the demand for your solution. So I think that is the key, because with the market size, you can actually analyze what kind of numbers you can achieve, what kind of business plan you can make for the next 5 years. And that is what the investor and the people who are interacting with you, they are looking for. So I think all these aspects are very, very important, and Regenesis is helping us, understand all these market trends very clearly. And if you are actually utilizing Regenesis, you can be very well equipped to check out all these aspects very seamlessly. So Thomas, I come back to you. I have a question in mind, that how important is it to differentiate between a perceived need and a real need in the market?
Sure, thank you, Rajiv. That's a great question for me. I think it's almost the difference between an introverted approach, where I think I have a good idea, and an extroverted approach, where I know another group of people or a customer has a pain. And there's a completely different approach depending on which it is. The great idea may be fabulous, technically brilliant, but nobody wants it. But if a customer has a real pain and a real problem they need solved, then they desperately need the things. They're your starving audience that you need to feed with your product. So for me, there's four big components. One, there must be a pain. Number two, to have a market, the people who have the pain must have purchasing power. Number three, they must be easy to target. So how are we going to communicate them? And number four, the number of those people and the size of that market must be growing. So let me just stop there a minute, and maybe for me that raises another question which I'd like Sunil to have a look at, which is, can you share an example where a customer discovery led to a major pivot in a startup product, Sunil?
Thanks, Thomas. Thanks. This is a very, very important question. As we all know that for all the businesses, it is required that they should listen their customer, they should get their feedback and do the product pivot accordingly. That is required not only for business growth, but for survival also. Particularly in this case of a startup, it is very, very essential as when we are developing the product, there are a lot of changes required in that product. So you have to go in the market, you have to understand what is the customer's requirement. As Rajiv has rightly said, that one need to understand that whatever product you are developing, they are solving some problem or not. So that verification is very, very important. If I have to give example, I will say that each and every businesses do that. But if I have to give example, I will give two examples. The first is Netflix. So we all know that Netflix is a company who has started as a DVD rental company. So they used to service that delivery of DVD to your mailbox. But when the when the things have changed, when the market has emerged, and they have seen the future, that the streaming is the future, then what they have done, they have moved in that direction. They have realigned their product offering, and they have started in this business. And today we all know they're a big player in online entertainment. So that is how businesses work in this market. The second example I will give, that is a big company, but I dare to give that example, Microsoft. If you will see the Microsoft journey, I think Steve Ballmer, when he was the CEO, so they were focusing on only one product that was called Windows, but they have not focused on the mobile market, a smartphone market. So that revolution they have missed. And I have seen one of the interview where Steve Ballmer, he was humble enough to accept this, that they have missed that. But when Satya Nadella has taken over, he was the person who has revolutionized this offering. He has understood that only one product pushing will not help. So they have brought something new. They have started collaborating with other platforms, other partners, and open APIs, and their offering has increased in the market. And now we all know Microsoft revenue has grown multifold, and that credit goes to Satya Nadella. So there are a lot of examples when people has to understand that this product pivotal is very, very important. Over to you, Thomas.
Okay, thanks, Sunil. I think that summarizes it. There are times when, even in startups or even in established companies, a complete pivot is necessary because that market need has shifted. So it is really important to continuously validate the market need. So, topic two would be about the team that underpins that. It's the team that's able to do that kind of pivot. So let's discuss building that strong team. Sunil, assembling the right team is critical for startup success and their continuous regenesis, because unless they renew themselves continuously, even in a startup, they can quickly get out of date. So, what are some of the key elements to consider in building a strong team?
We all know, Thomas, that team is very, very important for the growth of any organization. And particularly for a startup, it is more important. Why? Because they work with the limit budget, limit resources. So they have to ensure that they need to have like-minded people. They need to have the employee who are passionate and aligned with their mission and their work, whatever they are doing. So those things are very, very important. I will say that every founder, every startup founder, they need to understand one thing, that God has given something to you. But for businesses, whatever a skill set required, it is not possible for one man to have all those skill sets. I repeat it. It is not possible for one man to have all those skill sets, particularly when you are doing the startup, when you are developing something new. So the founders should be open, that they should have their co-founder, they should have that skill set. The co-founder should complement those things. So suppose somebody is very good in technical skills, they can develop the product, but they can't. I'm sure they have to do his sort analysis, and he will find that yes, they are missing in business growth. They are not having the skill set of financial management. So they need to have the founder, co-founder like that. They should be open for that. So that is one thing that is very, very important, I will say. The important thing again, when you are selecting the co-founder, it is not only the skill set that is important. The important is more than a skill set, I will say, particularly for a startup, that your co-founder should share the same vision. This should be flexible. He should adapt the changes. He should be culturally fit with your organization, with your thought process. So alignment with those core values are very, very important. So that is, I will say, the founding team member must share the same vision. Culturally, they should be aligned. They should passionate about doing the things and solving the problem together. So that is the first requirement. So that founding team members should be strong enough, and that will help in another part also when they go for pitching and all. So management team, what management team you have for the startup, that is very, very important. The second important is talent acquisition. So when you're hiring the talents, this doesn't mean that you are hiring a person who is having some skill set. You have to ensure that those person who are coming with us, they should be passionate about that, whatever you want to do, whatever you want to achieve. So they should align with your passion, your goal, your objective. The third is advisor and mentors. And I always say that nothing can replace the experience. So though a strong, you are young, energetic, having lot of knowledge, but experience matters a lot. So don't be in the in the arena that I know everything. I have seen some of the. I have also mentored around 60 to 65 startup, and today also I'm mentoring around 10 startups. I have seen there are guy who is full of energy. He finds that he's knowing everything. But important thing is that whatever energy you have, you conserve those energy, you utilize those energy in right way. But at the second time, you don't miss the bus. You don't hesitate to take the advice from the mentors, take the advice from the experienced people. And there are a lot of expertise available in the market. Regenesis is one of the platform. We are here a lot of experienced people having varieties of experience in different field. So I will urge all the startups, wherever you find that you need some help, and I will say that you on board with us. Why not take up experience, not only in in checking the all the stages of the startup. It may be the product development, it may be the market growth, it may be the fundraising. So we are having solution of everything, because we are all are having experience. We are all having experience in diversified field. We are having pool of talent, pool of experienced people also, and at the same time, at one platform, you will get solution of everything. So I will urge all those startup to join us, and this is very very important. Coming back, Thomas, like one question is coming in my mind, that how do you ensure that cultural alignment within a diverse team should happen?
Okay, thank you, Sunil. That is a really important question for me. And Regenesis has something utterly unique in the world of organizations. We have actually spent years studying some of the deep values in intercultural and international organizations. And what we know is there are three big deep value areas. One to do with how people think of themselves, so there's a set of values around that, and to bring forward what we call an integrity orientation. And we have a little process to install that in a company. And this is kind of deeper than the individual different cultures that might occur in an organization. So this is underneath what this is why they're called the deep value set. The second one is about interpersonal relationships, and this is about putting together a collaborative organization so that people learn, regardless of the difference in culture, to be openly collaborative and to look for ideas from their colleagues wherever they are, whatever their cultural orientation. So they're really, really important behaviors that help people work together. And then finally, there is what I would call the deep values around inter-organizational relationships. And this is that central to everything is a fundamental equalness of all human worth. And that partners, whatever their level, whatever their culture, whatever their country, whatever their part of the organization, view each other as equal as human beings. And that makes it massively more beneficial for the organization, massively more creative, and massively more profitable as they relate holistically. So those three big values for me are how you get that cultural alignment. And then you can just allow the difference to be there. And of course, in difference, there is great strength. So I guess what that does for me is to raise another question, and maybe this is back to Rajiv, about what strategies you found to be effective in retaining top talent in startup management. In addition to that kind of deep value set that we have, what else have you noticed,
Right.
Rajiv?
Thanks, Thomas. Of course, culture is the most important thing, which is attracting people and helping us to retain those people. But apart from culture, I feel need to give them a very competitive compensation, which should be good in the matching with the industry. Sometimes startups are a little stingy about giving good compensation packages to good people, so that is where I think you need to strike a balance. And also, you have to show them a career growth and a growth in terms of that, okay, in terms of valuation of this. Uh, Startup, so companies are startups are coming up with ESOP schemes, they are coming up with the stock appreciation rights. So those are the ways to give the employees a kind of assurance that, okay, if you work hard, the valuation of our startup will go up and you will be participating in that growth story. And of course, you need to have a recognition structure. You need to reward their contributions, and of course give them a long term path, so that they can visualize that, okay, a few years down the line they can be uh, gaining out of their engagement with the startup, and it makes them motivated to stay with the startup for a longer period. So having a very packaged kind of a scheme for giving them value and long term value, and giving them some kind of a stock appreciation is the trick which I have seen most of the startups are using, and they are also keeping them engaged, and uh, making them an involved employee, because if they are actually engaged in the decision making and day-to-day management issues, they feel empowered, and they feel as a part of the company core team, and that is what makes a lot of difference for them.
Absolutely, and that course builds perfectly on top of the Regenesis deep values,
Yeah,
because that makes sure everybody gets treated the same and the same opportunities are open wherever the company is placed in the world or in the nation. Different roles and different types of kind of professional groups. We need to just have a underpinning set of common values, and I think that's very important. And of course, nowhere is it more important than having fair opportunity and sharing the wealth that comes out of these startups. So, topic three
absolutely.
is all about the next area, which I think is crucial, which is developing the minimum viable product, the MVP. And so, for me, the big thing here is often uh, people forget this is the first tangible step towards building a successful startup. So, Rajiv, what should Regenesis mode startups focus on when creating their MVP?
Yeah, Thomas, you rightly said that MVP is the most important aspect for any startup. And this is kind of a heart for the startup. If the MVP is not being implemented perfectly, the startup will definitely go haywire. So they have to really focus on a very methodical structure or a methodical process where they can actually work on uh, creating a proper and a strong minimum viable product. And for that, I think there are few aspects. First, of course, is lean development. So they need to focus on the core features that solve the main problem, and that can be tested quickly. They should also focus on creating an MVP to test assumptions and gather user feedback also on their MVP. How do they feel about the product? How do they feel confident about it? How they would like to utilize this product? And that gives a startup confidence that, okay, we are going on the right path. But it has to be done in a very structured manner. So it has to be iterative improvement. So use feedback from early adopters to refine and improve the product, because you are dealing with innovation. So innovation is bound to have some glitches. So how quickly you are realizing those glitches and how quickly you are solving those glitches, that is the key. If you are just ignoring glitches, some research people and R&D people I have seen, they are too obsessed with their thought process. So they feel that whatever they are doing is correct. But that's not always true. So you need to actually take feedback from the people who are utilizing your services. You need to refine your product and continuously iterate based on the feedback to refine this product. And of course, you need to ensure scalability. So to ensure that MVP can be scaled to meet growing demands. So it should not be that the MVP is such that you just cannot scale it. So this scalability aspect has to be kept fully in mind when you are actually making your MVP. So Thomas, I have a question, because you have been dealing with a lot of startups, and Regenesis as a system is supporting lots of startups. So, what are the risks of over engineering on an MVP, and how can startups avoid this trap?
Okay. Well, I think the biggest thing comes from the perhaps the greatest strength of some startup. They might have a technically brilliant or intellectually utterly brilliant CEO or founder or even a top team, and they're fantastically creative. And they invent way more ideas which they attempt to put into the product too early than are necessary. And there's a strategy in Lean called fast forward, rapid fail. And some of the things you mentioned about getting feedback from early adopters, if the customer says they don't need it or it's not very valuable for them, fail it, get it out of the product. So it's very much about making sure your minimum valuable product is as minimum as possible. Because if you make it too big, one, you might frighten the customers away who go, whoa, that's way more complex than I want to use. And it becomes too scary for them. Or secondly, you might build a thing that people kind of want a bit, so there's low value add in it that gets kind of combined in a product that's actually very expensive to provide. So going forward, the product becomes financially unviable. And they're the two big steps, big traps from over engineering an MVP. So keep it small, fast forward, rapid fail, get things you don't need and customers don't want out of the mix, and just focus on the things that create the most value. And that leads me on to my own question for Sunil. Um, are you able to provide any examples of how this iterative improvement process has happened in your experience as startups refine their MVPs?
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Basically, we all know that data shows that 70% of startup fails, only 30% succeeds. And data shows that also that 70% fails due to due to failure of MVP, due to failure of MPV, means what they manufacture, what product they manufacture. They are not, taking the customer feedback. They are not doing the iterative improvement required. So iterative improvement is basically key for any product development for any startup company. And I will say this is not only for a startup company, any company who are doing the business that is required, but this is more required for a startup company because they are having limited product range. So either that will fail, so they will fail. If that will succeed, then only they will succeed. So I think this is, I will say in one line, if I have to say, then I will say that this is not the requirement for growth. This is the requirement for survival. So this is required and they have to do it. I was mentoring a company called Charge Zone. They were manufacturing this, the electric charging stations. So, I remember that when we were mentoring them, we have, whatever product we have developed, we have gone at least 6 to 7 times to the market. We have analyzed the data. We have spoken to the expert. We understood the issues that will happen during the selling those products. So all the stakeholders, not one stakeholder, so all the stakeholders. And then after that, we have come with a solution which is basically, sellable, which is basically meeting the market need. So that is required for the survival of any business. In the layman language, for the sake of listeners, I want to give simple examples that how this iterative improvement is required in all the product development. You take the example of e-commerce platform. So if somebody is developing the e-commerce platform, they need to understand that each and every step is very, very important. And for every step, they have to go to the customer. They have to do the market research. They need to understand what exactly we have to do. So the first step is, of course, list down the product, pricing, go for the offer, and the customer can place the order. The second is we have to show that similar product when one customer is going and trying to place order for that, so that you are offering more option to the customer. The third is utilizing the analytics, data driven decisions. So what exactly you are doing? You are implementing ongoing improvement. You are improving your website. You are basically monitoring the customer behavior. The KPI of that is conversion rate, average order value, bounce rate, customer acquisition cost. So all those KPI you are deriving. Then you are analyzing the customer behavior also, click-through rates, session duration, navigation pattern. So all these inputs gives you, area of improvement required. So for any product, whatever you are developing, why I'm giving this simple example, because sometimes whatever product we have dealt, whatever product I have, our startup has done, that might not be able to give the clear picture to the audience. But if I will give this simple example, that will be very, they can correlate. So that is required for the survival for e-commerce company, that they have to analyze those data. They have to do a lot of research, then only they will be able to understand, and then only they will be able to offer the solution and create customer experience. So they have to do A/B testing of those things. They have to improve the customized solution, the customer segmentation they have to do. So accordingly, you every day you have to, you should be live, and you should be, every day you have to analyze those data, and you have to offer the better customer experience for the survival. So that is the challenge of today's market. And this is not only for one company, that is basically for all the company. And that is the reason in today's market, for any businesses, we always say that innovation is key. You should be always ready to innovate. You should always challenge to yourself that whatever way we are defining the product or services, can we define in some better way? Can we add little more value to the customer? So those things are very important. This is not the fact for the saying. This is the fact which is basically essential for the businesses. And when I say this, we have seen the organization who has not done, they have not succeeded in the market. So that is the pain what we have seen. We are trying to bring it here across the audience who can understand the importance of this. And Regenesis is the platform where we can help the audience, who can help the startup, who can help any businesses in going through this, that how you have to develop your product, how you have to align your product with the market need. So that is the requirement of the day. Yes, over to you, Thomas.
Okay, thank you, Sunil. That's some really good information there that I think everybody can learn a lot from the experiences that you've had. And I think there's a key point in there which you were talking a little bit about, which I'd like to extend a little bit more, which is this value, adding value. And adding value in the case of a startup also links to the two things that we talked about, which is validate market needs. So to make sure there's a pain that has a price for which your potential product will create a value. And that means it will make money for the organization, your customer, as you supply that product, that need, as you meet that need. So minimum viable product is about keeping that initial product as small as possible to create as much value. In other words, make money for the customer as much as possible. And it's not about adding more value just because you can, regardless of the cost. It's about making sure that gearing stays in place. And that basic transaction, which is maximizing value for the customer effectively, dealing with your product or service, should actually make money for the organization you're serving or the customers that you're serving. And this is the basis of creating a sustainable business model. So it's absolutely fundamental. So what I'd like Sunil to do is to actually keep building on what he started with and talk to us a little bit about what are the really key components of a robust regenesis mode business model for a startup. How do they need to think about all this stuff in a way that's really constructive for them?
Yeah. So, Thomas, again, this sustainable business model is very important things one has to look into mind, because that ensures that whatever business you are going to start, whatever product you are going to offer in the market or services you are going to offer in the market, that is not for the small time, that is for the bigger time. So that is the requirement of the market, that is the requirement of your customer. So that product or services, whatever you are offering, so you have to see that whatever product you are offering, that is basically delivering value to the customer. The second important is you need to understand the revenue model, and that should and revenue model should be such which should allow to cover your cost and generate profit. Because if you are in the business, you have to keep that profit in the mind. So that revenue model design is very, very important. Then third aspect is the growth strategy. So you have to align the overall business goal, and you have to ensure that your revenue is on the line, your growth strategy is working in the direction, and you are achieving those objectives whatever you have said. The fifth important is a strategy for a scale up, because today you are a startup, but you must have vision that after 5 years or after 6 years we will be of this much of revenue. So you everything should be at place, and that will help you in each and every stages when you go in the market, when you will try to get the fund, when you will when you will scale. So those vision and those core things should be clearly defined right in the beginning. So your revenue stream should be clearly defined, your unit economics should be clearly defined, and your cost management should be placed. Your whole budget should not go everywhere. So that is very, very important for the startup. But I will say, and with my experience, I can say that it is not possible for the startup to have all those skill set under one platform, under each management one. So this is the time when a startup is just starting something new and they are having potential, then they should not hesitate to take the help of experience, take the help of platform like Regenesis, take the help of mentors, take the help of advisors who can help in those lines. That is very, very important. So and for a startup, it is more important. Why? Because a startup should have the ability to survive in ups and downs of businesses. We always say one line that a startup is a very lonely business. Nobody is here to to handhold every time. So it is a lonely business, but you should be prepared for these ups and downs, and you have to take the help from all the possible stakeholders. The second is to maintain the healthy environment, healthy work-life balance, positive impact in the environment. Nowadays is very, very important. There was a time when we are not thinking this sustainability part, environment part, socio-economic part. But I think this is a time when one has to see that yes, whatever we are doing, that is sustainable, that has environment impact, that is having social impact, that is having financial performance, and overall performance is also good for that. So these factors one has to take into account when they are basically in the startup journey, and that is just there are some certain checkpoints, so that those checkpoints should be really reviewed, and that the necessary correction need to be done. So it is not possible for us to explain everything in one session, but only we can say it here, that is experience, experience, experience. It is very, very important. So please, if you are in a startup business, if you are thinking something big, so congratulations to all those viewers, all those listeners, all those founders, that you are having those ideas. But to succeed those ideas, it is important that you should not hesitate to take the help. It is important that you should collaborate with the right partners, you should collaborate with the right mentors, right advisors, and onboard the right person, so that that idea will get converted in reality and you are having the potential to grow. We all know that a startup businesses is growing at very fast rate, and only I have seen, and with my experience I can say, the only one thing I have seen common in all the founders, that they are having energy, they are having zeal to win, they are having confidence that yes, I can do something. But that confidence is fine, but if you are missing in these components, these small business model development and all, then it's very difficult to sustain. So it is when we are defining your product, then I will say four checklists should be very, very important. Number one, you have to define your target market. You have to conduct the market research. Third, you have to create the unique value proposition, and then you have to define your business model so that your revenue model is fixed, your financial objective can be met, and whatever you want to achieve, whatever objective you have set, that can be achievable. So coming back to Thomas, the important part here is that for the business growth and profitability in the earliest stage of a startup is very, very important. But how to do it? How to do that balance? So can you elaborate a little bit on this?
Sure, I think you've been building a very solid picture there, Sunil, by highlighting how the issues we've discussed so far build one on another. And it's all there in the front of what you've just been talking about, which is identify the income streams, the revenue streams. How do you balance growth? Well, that growth too often in a startup means we're going to grow by spending more money. But actually, what growth means is we're going to grow by drawing in more income. And that, of course, is what builds the profitability. Right from the get-go, you're focusing on what's most of value to the customer, how it makes money for them, that then allows you to create an income for your startup, which then builds in its profitability to the future. And as you go to later stages in funding, that confidence by the investors will be absolutely crucial. So if you kept your MVP as small as possible, if you've not broken out the expenditure you will need to be big until you are big. In other words, what I'm saying is don't get the fancy offices, the fancy kit until you actually need it. Yes, you might need it in the future, but at the start, keep it all small. It gives investors great confidence that you've been able to create an MVP that the customers love, they're excited for, they're hungry for in their market to solve a real pain at a cost level that nobody else can compete with. That's the beginning of a great and growing profitable startup. So, Rajiv, what metrics do you consider most important when evaluating the sustainability of a business model in a startup?
Yeah, I think Thomas, being a finance man, I would say the most important thing is cash flow. How you are managing the cash flows, how you are making sure that there's enough money flowing in the startup for without even looking at the outside world. So if you are able to play this properly and you are able to manage your burn rate, your the kind of customer acquisition cost which you are incurring, and how you are managing your entire cash cycle. That is the most important key for the startups. And that is where I think most startup founders need uh, a system like Regenesis or expert mentor advice who can actually guide them through and make them realize that what is important and how they should look at their the important aspects of what are the recurring revenues for them, what is the churn rate for them, what is the customer lifetime value, how much money they are spending in acquiring those customers. So all those aspects are very, very important for the startups, and the fulcrum of that is the cash flow management. So I think I would advise everyone listening to this podcast that they must focus on the cash flow. And once you are in control of the situation and you are managing your cash flows well, then nothing can stop you from succeeding.
I absolutely agree with
Over
that.
to you.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you very much indeed, Rajiv. So that feeds neatly into our next major subject, which is, of course, customer acquisition and retention. And although these issues are in a sequence of 1 to 6, as we've labeled them, actually, this is another, well, all these things need to start and be in play right from the beginning. So let's discuss customer acquisition and retention, Rajiv. What Regenesis strategies are crucial for attracting and keeping customers? Of course, we're lucky now because so many businesses are in a common database. We call it LinkedIn, and it's a fantastic medium for reaching out
Right.
and making contact.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with you, Thomas. But through Regenesis also we teach how to acquire the customers. Of course, the LinkedIn and the funnel management and all those things are uh, the techniques which one can follow. But I think the most important thing is how you are implementing your marketing strategies. So, how you are able to attract and acquire your customers. Because if customers are not aware what you are and what kind of product you are selling, they will not be able to understand and approach you. So, you must implement very effective marketing strategies to attract and acquire customer. And you should actually be cautious of the customer acquisition cost. You should not burn too much money for acquiring those customers. I think most of the startups they commit this mistake that they overdo the burn rate, and in that process they sometimes are always on the cash negative side, and that leads them to a situation that they have a financial trouble. So I think the marketing strategy is the most important aspect of it. Then comes the customer success, how you focus on customer satisfaction and how you also ensure the retention of the customer through excellent support and engagement. I have seen even multinational companies, they have failed because of the poor service or because of the poor management of their customer. So this is the most important thing one should, having worked with a lot of Japanese companies, I can tell you, customer is considered as a god so there's a saying in Japanese language that customer is a god. So if you are treating your customer well, they will definitely remain with you, and not only remain with you, they will talk about you and get you more customers. So the kind of mouth to mouth publicity or the referral which happens if your customers are happy is humongous. So one should focus on this area and develop a streamlined sales process to convert leads into customers, because sometimes the IT team is doing very well. They are able to generate too many leads, but those leads are not converted into sales because of the operational team not working so well. So I think you need a proper team to work on lead management as well as the conversion of those leads into customers. And of course, you must focus on the customer success and satisfaction and retention through excellent support and engagement with them. So always engage with your customers, keep on asking how satisfied they are. And a satisfied customer is definitely going to bring you five more customers. That's the fact of the market. So I think we all must adopt that. So having said that, Thomas, again, I come back to you from Regenesis perspective. How do you measure the effectiveness of your customer acquisition strategies?
So I think this is absolutely the nub of it, and it's something that, as I said earlier, and you've said throughout this, that startups need to start work on from the very beginning to have really clear focus on what is the market need, who is the customer, what is their pain. So it starts there, and then it's about reaching out into the marketplace and making contact with all those potential customers who have that pain. And your job in a startup is to be continuously focused how what you are doing will make money for your customers. Nothing else can get in the way of that, because that is the essence of what will make you successful. So that is the key measure. And how many customers then can you draw to you for whom you can make that kind of money, and just stay on that journey. And if you're converting those prospects, because they're simply people with that pain, into customers, who these are people who then use your service to remove that pain and create value and make money, then they're the key measures. So we need to keep an eye on all those numbers all the way through. And as you say, is keep an eye on any attrition. If we lose people along the way, what happened? What didn't we do? And what do we need to do to bring them back or to stop them going in the first place? So all of those are absolutely crucial measures for any customer acquisition strategy. And there needs to be really clear and open records of all the numbers involved in total reach out, how many people do we make contact with, and then what were the conversion rates, how many people did we talk to. All those numbers need to be transparent for everybody to see and will become crucial in later rounds of funding, as we'll be about to find out. So coming back to you, Rajiv, what role does the customer feedback play in your retention strategy?
It is a very important role, I would say, because if you are improving your customer support system, if you are making sure that after every support call you are getting a feedback from the customer, you are making sure that there is an engagement, and you are making that experience of customer a more personalized one. You make them feel that you are engaging them and you are building trust for your product. That is the key, because if you are monitoring your customer satisfaction on regular basis, you are making sure that you are getting proper feedback, and they have a mechanism that in case they are not happy, they should be able to get back to you quickly. And there should be escalation matrix also, because one unsatisfied customer can actually take away maybe hundreds of your other customers, likely customers. So and this is a digital era. People are giving ratings, people are giving comments on social media. So you need to manage all those aspects very well, so that you get a proper rating, because sometimes people just see what is your rating, and they buy the product. So you need to maintain that very well. And I think the customer feedback is the only key element which gives you all that data and how to manage this more effectively.
Okay, thank you. Yes, absolutely agree with all of that. And of course, now we get into the last element of this discussion today, which is raising capital. And this is where really, if you've got everything else right in the beginnings of your startup, you've kept the expenditure small, you from the get-go sought the income and the revenue streams from the customers by making sure what you do adds real value without additional costs for them. So if you've got all that right, you've got a really great team who can collaborate, they take feedback from each other, they have different skills. So you've got not only the technical skills, you've got the people skills to work with customers, you've got the sensitivity and the flexibility and the creativity that you need. If you've got through all of that and you're here, now it's time to raise capital. So how good your balance sheet is and how good your reputation is, all the things we've been talking about, will now be mission critical in investors feeling confident to give you a bunch more money so that you can actually begin to grow much bigger and begin to take on many more customers. So obviously, everything you've done so far leads us to this point. So let's visit this whole area and ask Sunil why Regenesis mode is important and what founders should keep in mind as they get to the later stages in funding and even the capital raising right at the beginning. But let's go through the funding journey and understand the different stages of that funding.
Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Fundraising is very, very crucial and important aspect of a startup, because you're having the ideas, but if you don't have fund, it is very difficult to you know to make those ideas into reality. So we all understand it. And but again, as I have told in the last session, in the last point, that taking help from expert is very, very important. You may be expert in technical things. You a startup, maybe the founder may be having expertise in developing the product, but as far as raising the fund is concerned, this is altogether a different ball game. You need to understand that what are the stages of these funds. So I will just give the example of some stages. So the first is, of course, you can start your own and you are having some seed fund, something like that. Then there are angel investors who invest in your in your ideas. If they found that it is good, there are risk involved in that angel investor also, because every angel investor want equity and good equity in your startup. So that is again a point of concern with some founders. The second is there are a lot of VC available. So connecting with those VCs are very, very important. So again, you can take the help of company like VLSS, and we are here to support you in connecting with those VC and preparing that how this fund can be generated. The third is, of course, crowdfunding. So before going for listing in the market, the crowdfunding is a stage when you have to, you can go in the market and people to invest. So that is one stage. In this angel and VC assessment also, there are a lot of series A, series B, series C, then ESOP. So these are the different stages that requires at what stage your company is, so that you can decide. And again, I will say that nothing can replace experience. Nothing can replace experience. So it is very, very important for founders or startups to take help of experience. When you're going for the funding, you have to keep these 6 steps in mind. Number one, that business plan. So when you're going for pitching, you must have a robust business plan, because the person who is going to invest in you, in your idea, they want to understand that you will succeed, because they are investing to make the money. So if they will have even a fraction of doubt, they will not invest in you. So there are two aspects here: that you should have a strong team who can deliver, and that should, you should have a strong team from technical front, business growth front, financial management front. So that a strong team is very, very important. The second, in business plan, or then in business plan, you must have the market analysis, competitive analysis. You should have the business model. You must have financial projection. This is very, very important. So if you have financial projection, then only visibility will come. Then you should, you should know that what is the time when you have to go for the fundraising, because at what stage you are, that validation is very, very important. So you should must be at a position when investors should find prospect in you. When investors should be ready to invest in you. So that timing is very, very important. And you should always, this is very small, very, very important point. There should, you founder should always be ready to give some sizable share to investor. Lot of time I have seen that investor is interested, but founder is rigid as far as giving the sizable share or other things. Of course, negotiation is possible, but you should not be in fix. That is very, very important. The funding amount is very, very important. How much fund you should take, because when you are going for raising the fund, you should have proper plan that this much fund I require and how we are going to utilize these funds. So that is very, very important. The next step is investors. So when you are approaching the investor, you must know the background of the investor. You must know that how they have helped to other company, to other startups. So in that, those homework is also very, very important. And so your pitch deck should be, is such where founders should be ready to your ideas, to your stages, to your financial projection, and they should be ready to invest. And last but not the least, the negotiation part. Of course, here all are to make the money. You have to grow your organization, but if somebody is investing, they are investing X, then they are looking for in what series, at what stage, how much we will get. So that's negotiation part is very, very important. So be prepared for that. And again, I'm repeating it, take help of expert on board with us. We are here to support you because we understand the landscape of this fundraising. And when we understand it, we will help you in developing the pitch deck. We will help you to connecting with the investor. We will help you that how to negotiate with investor, how to get the funds, how much you fund you should require at this point of time. Those things are very, very important because when you're negotiating, you must know that, in any company, for any founders, if you want to, if you want to stay with this company, and if you want to grow this company, and you want to have the and need to be a major stakeholder, then you must ensure that you should have 40 to 50% of a stake. Otherwise, you can lose the company any point of time. If you are having different ideas, they're okay, after 3 or 4 years I will sell this company, then a strategy will be different. So each and every small aspect is very, very important. So I will always suggest that take the help of expert. That is very, very important. And if you're taking the help of expert, that will help you in raising the amount whatever you require, and ensuring that you have well negotiated, you have uh, uh, you have taken the right investor in the board. They will not only invest the money, sometimes those investors help you in getting the connections, in raising in developing your businesses. Those things are also very, very important. So taking help is very, very important. Thomas, my question to you, and I think that will help the audience to understand it better, that how do you craft a compelling pitch that resonates with investors?
I think what we've all been saying is a pitch is not connected from these six things. If you've done these six things right, then the pitch should almost write itself, because you're simply writing about the successes you've had along the journey so far. And if you've done that well, then investors will be confident in the pitch that you write. And I think, just by way of closure today, I think what all of us are saying, do these six things or die as a startup, because if you miss one of these, you're probably in trouble. So, as Sunil's been saying, if you want some help, and we would encourage you to get help now, if you're an investor or a startup entrepreneur, contact one of us. We'd love to link you into our network and make sure you've got access to all the help and advice that you need. Anyway, for today, thank you very much to my colleagues, Rajiv and Sunil. Thank you for your valuable insights, and thank you to our audience. Prem, over to you.
Thank you.
So, Thomas, thank you for the valuable points that we discussed on how startups should look at and what is that is required. We are coming to an end of this session. I think with the 6 points made a lot of difference in terms of understanding how the ecosystem of a startup should look at and how they should talk about their structure to be built, from pitch deck to getting the funding. I think Regenesis is doing a great job here, and we are helping people around the organizations and the startups to look at how we can take this funding requirement and help them secure fund. Rajiv, Sunil, and Thomas are available on the links that are scrolling on the page right now, where you can reach them. This is the links that they are reachable. I'm bringing up these links on LinkedIn. Reach us. We can help you out, get the funding or other support that is required. Uh, with this, we would like to conclude our session. Thank you for joining us today. Please follow us on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We hope you found this discussion valuable, and our next podcast would be Write Your Way to Clarity: How Writing Shapes You and Who You Are, on the 4th of July, 6:30 p.m. IST, with a new speaker. Looking forward to see you there. Good day. Uh, Thanks for now.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks very
Prem.
much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you, Prem.
you.
Thanks.